Alright, so in this video we're going to talk about using charcoal pencils on our still life. And so I did a quick sketch here, working on trying to get everything kind of in proportion and the proper placement. So what we're going to be using are called charcoal pencils. And each of the containers has 4 white and 4 black charcoal pencils. There's a couple things we need to know about these. Charcoal is, the closest thing I can relate it to is chalk, but it's not chalk. It's actually a more expensive and much nicer material to work with than chalk. But what I do make the comparison to chalk for is the fact that it's very soft. It can also be kind of messy if we're not careful. So a couple things to keep in mind. We want to keep these in the box and on the table when they are not being used. We also need to keep in mind that because it's so soft, it's going to be a little tricky to sharpen at times. In fact, looking at these dark ones here, you'll notice that most of these really don't have a very strong point to them, at least not like the white. I do not want to see you trying to get an actual point on these because it's just going to be useless to try and get a perfect point. Can you get it? Yes, but we're not going to worry about it. So when we are sharpening, we need to make sure that we are using the hand sharpener and we are sharpening within the cup. This might be a time that we keep the eraser out and then just dump it at the end of class. So anyway, getting to this, we are working on gray paper for a reason. Because we're going to be applying light values and we're going to be applying the dark values, and we're going to leave some of the gray showing because that's going to be the medium areas. So as you can see on my picture here, I was looking at the toothpaste and I'm looking at it saying, okay, it's really, really light on the top, but it's also getting darker on the bottom, and I've got a really strong cast shadow down here. So with that in mind, I'm going to say, I need to think, okay, do I want this to be, do I want to apply much of the dark charcoal on the actual toothpaste tube? And I would say the answer to that is really no, we're not going to apply very much. I might just take and put a little bit on the very bottom edge of this toothpaste. And you notice when I'm shading, I'm going in one direction. But I'm going to leave a lot of that gray showing, or that medium gray right there is going to be the color of the paper, the gray paper that we're using. So I'm just going to put a little bit on. Now, some people like to use charcoal pencil and do very little blending with it. But if you're one of these people that says, no, I got to blend, that just doesn't look right. Some people like to use their finger. I don't encourage it because you will leave oil and stuff on the paper. So instead, I'm going to just put a little piece of paper on my finger. I actually wrapped it around my finger. And then I'm just going to kind of use it to, what I'm doing is actually pushing the charcoal in the paper and blending it just a little bit. Now, charcoal can get kind of messy. It can get really blurry if you're not careful. So you don't want to overdo it. You can always come back and add more. So I'm going to go ahead and put some on the top part of this toothpaste tube, because that is a little bit darker than the paper color here. So I'm going to, and I want the top nozzle to kind of come out, top nozzle of the toothpaste anyway. So again, I put a little on there. Now I can leave that. I kind of like it the way it is. I am, however, just going to go over it once. I don't want to over blend it, but I just want to push that into the paper so that if I touch it, it's not going to move nearly as much. Then we have the shadow underneath, and that's a really strong shadow. I probably should have drawn it in, but I didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and just go right along the edge of my toothpaste tube and build up that strong shadow that almost vanishes, or just it becomes almost as thin as a line as we get all the way back here. Again, I can always add more, but it is harder to take charcoal off the paper. So take it just slow. Go just a little at a time here. So this is a little bit lighter underneath there. And again, I'm going to push it into the paper, settle it into the paper. So with my finger, I'm just going to go along this edge here and just kind of push it in. You do not want to get crazy and wild with your shading, or you're going to have a lot of erasing and fixing to do later. So I probably need to apply a little bit of a charcoal back here. But again, notice how, and I keep repeating myself because I'm really pushing this on you, is leave the gray of the paper showing quite a bit. All right? So this is just kind of a starting point with these charcoals. Make sure at the end of class you put these back in the container. If you are using any type of tissue, you want to make sure and throw that away. And the last thing before I quit here is I want to talk to you about the sharpening and just kind of show you. Again, you're not trying to get a point here, but I'm just going to do a slight bit of sharpening. You notice that my lead got a little bit sharper, but it's not a perfect point. It's actually kind of crooked and weird here. If you ever get a piece of charcoal, like right here where it's there's more wood on this side, just do a half sharpen. Turn it just halfway, pull it out, turn it halfway again until you get rid of that wood part right there. And that's just kind of a FYI on how to sharpen the charcoal pencils.